This one I normally circle the space and ask whose room it is. And the kids are like, and they'll say egg or sofa or anything else. And then I'll point to the little dino picture and I'll say, who is this? And then, they'll say, a dino. And I'll say, but where is Dino? And they're like, They'll look around. Then I'll circle the map. Dino's not here. Let's go find him. Then we'll go to the next slide. And I'll say, his map. And we'll go through the whole, and I'll tell them, we have to do sounds, sentences, intonations to find Dino. And I'll say, are you ready? And they'll say, yes. I'll say, okay, let's go. And then I'll say, can you read? And I'll underline the words for them to read. And then we go from there. And then once they read it once, if I'm not sure what they said, I'll ask, can you read? And I'll circle the word that I'm still confused so I can hear or see what they're doing. Because then if I know they did it wrong, I'll get closer so I can see their lips. So, and then I'll say, can you read? And I'll get close and I'll listen while I'm watching. And then I'll say, okay. And then I'll make a mental note of, okay, this is where their tongue is going. So let's move it. Or this is what they're doing. Yes. Instead of so I like this slide. Yes. So I don't actually play the play button until the student has said it at least 3 to 5 times, depending upon how they say it. So we'll go, ow, ow, and we'll do different sounds. Ow, 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 ow. And then when they've done it, then we'll hit, and we'll hear the monster say, ow. It's not always going to be an easy ow. In English, a lot of times when vowels hit consonants, they kind of change just a smidgen, or if they don't change, they still, they'll still look the same. You're like, why does this word sound different than this word? So we'll still work on it. But so it's at least 3 times, but it can go up. So it's 3 to 5 starting out. If they're having trouble, then it might go more with ow, ow, ow. And you have this, they'll sing it and then we'll sing it together. Ow. So, but just depending. So normally the older kids get 3 because they're pretty. The younger kids might get everything else that goes along with it. So they might go at least 10 times because I want the word to sound right. I just say, can you read? And I'll ask them to read the word and I underline the word and I listen and I'll show a picture of it and I'll circle the ow in it to make sure they're doing it. So it's ma ow, ma ow. And so and then once they get it, again, I'll hit play. So the play button for me is always you finished, like you graduated. And so then he'll say it, mouth, or whatever he says. And then they'll say it one more time. And then we'll celebration time, come on. And then we'll move on. And then we'll do the next guy. And then after we do the little mouse guy, then I'll point, depending upon how fast they got through it, then we'll go back and forth. Like mouse, mouth, mouse, mouth, ha, ha, ha. Tight. So that way it kind of makes them focus on and so I normally do the same thing. Can you read? And when they're saying house, I'll draw a little house on the side of it. And I'll get close to them and I'll pull, if they're having troubles with it, I'll pull out the little, we'll start off with and circle ow. And then we'll do it again and start getting closer and closer and closer. And then, can you read? And then they'll know, oh, house. Like, good job. What does this say? House. What does this say? And so we'll do that a couple of times after they've gone through it. And then we do the same thing with pound. I normally draw like a little scale. And then we'll go, because that's the biggest issue they have with the word pound. Because by that point, they've gotten through the ow. And now it's the pound. So they're missing. So they'll say pond, and I'll say pond, and then they'll change. So that's more the focus on the second word is the "nd" part of it. I ask them to read it first independently, and then I'll say, after they've read it, and if they've said it correctly. If they haven't, then we'll practice again the same way we did before. And then once it's correctly, I'll say, listen. And then we'll hit the button. I say, can you draw a line? And so this slide I find pretty easy. Especially once you found, once mouse has been taken out of the equation, they're like, oh, boop, boop, boop. It's easy. The first time they're like, mouse. And when they're thinking, I'll just keep mouth. If they're having difficulties, I'll make it closer so they can see mouth type deal, or I'll say mouse. And by this point, they know that teeth is S and the tongue is TH. So they normally get through. We'll do it, and then I'll play it, and I'll give them a couple of seconds before I start doing the reminders. I will say, what do you hear? And I'll say, listen, and we'll get closer, and then I'll hit the sound. And then I'll say, ow, ow. And then I'll say, where is ow? And then they'll normally start pulling. By this point in time, they're pulling pearls. And I'm like, what does it say? And if they happen to drop two in at a time without saying, I'll refresh the page. I'll put it all back. And I'll say, where is ow? Can you say ow? Ow. And by that point in time, they're like, oh, okay, mouth, mouse. And they'll go back to doing it one at a time versus just like, oh, let me just slide them all in. And then if they miss one, but they've been doing them correctly, I'll just write it and say, what does it say? Instead of making them do it all over again. Yeah, I'll say, you finished sounds. Now, and then I'll draw on the map. We have to go around the volcano for sentences. Are you ready? And they'll say, I'm ready, or let's go. And then we'll come, let's find Dino. And then we'll keep going. So I'll draw a little line, then let's find him. I'll click on the slide to move on. But I'll just circle the sentence and I'll ask them, can you read? And then I'll see where they are because we've worked on the two main words. And then we'll just fix things accordingly from there. And then I'll hit the play. That means you finished. Yes, celebration time. No. No, but by the time we've gotten to the slide, they know how mouse looks. They know how loud looks. So even if they're like, then I'll say the, and the. So I'll circle the. And then when we finish, I'll put in the feedback. I'll give the parents a couple of frequency words to review with their kids, along with the sounds that we covered. I read, the mouse is loud. Where is ow? And I'll circle ow. Can you draw a loud ow? Where? The mouse is loud. Ow. And so normally they're like, oh, got it. Then they'll start pulling them. I'm like, where? And they'll throw it up there to loud. So that slide's a pretty easy one. So that one goes by pretty quickly. We use the little monster. I'll tell them, can you move? And I'll move the monster first, and read the, and then I'll put the monster back to the top. Mouse is loud. And then so they'll do the, and then they'll do the mouse is loud. And then the mouse actually, or the monster actually gets to eat the cake. So then everyone goes, nom, 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 because he's eating the cake. And then we move to the next slide. We do the same thing. Intonations. So we just say, yeah, you finished sentences. Now we have to go over the mountain to intonations. Let's go. And then we'll go. Personally, I always ask the students to read first, just to see where they are. And even if they don't get the word right, a lot of times there's an issue with thirsty. And so, good job, thirsty. And we'll work on thirsty. And then I'll say, are you thirsty? And we'll exaggerate. Are you thirsty? And we just do like all kinds of thirsty. And just to make sure they go higher and higher and higher. And again, that's about 3 times. If they have it, we'll practice 3 times. If they don't, we'll practice more. And we'll focus on the thirsty part of it. They're pretty quick with it because I think it's, if you do it naturally, like, are you hungry? Then it's like, what are you saying? Like then you can't really hear the difference. But when you exaggerate and you're like, are you hungry? Then they just repeat you and they're hungry, hungry. And we'll go lower, hungry. So, and they tend to do it. So then I'm like, can you read? And they'll go back to the original hungry or thirsty. So I don't think there's an issue. As long as you point and you kind of like, get them the squeakiness. Circle it. Like I go down, I get deeper. Circle it. Or, so we always use the hand and then we drop. Circle it. Sit down. And we'll change it to different, that's what I also do on the other one as well, the thirsty. If they get it quickly, then I'll change the question to are you hungry or are you happy? Or so circle it so they get it. Then I'll say stand up and then we'll stand up, sit down. And so we'll just change the different commands that we're doing. So this one, I'll circle the 2 different cards and I'll say, And I'll circle the little question mark and I'll say, up, down, which way? Thirsty, thirsty. And so, and then we'll do this and we'll go up or is it down? Shh. And normally while I'm still talking, they're like, be quiet, I'm done. So then I'll have them say it a couple of times. And then I'll say, can you make your sentence? What can you make the same thirsty? And then we'll wait. And then they'll come up with, is it blue? Or whatever they say. And so that's what we'll do. Or like circle it. They'll come up with sit down again because we've done it. Or some of them impress you. You're like, wow, who thought you would have thought of that one? So we'll do that one on that slide too, depending upon the timing of it. If we've gone through them, then create your own sentence, your own command, or your own question mark. And then, so of course I have to circle the question mark and the arrows to make sure they know. The older ones, yes. The younger ones who are having trouble, who have had trouble from the beginning with pronunciations, I just kind of stick with giving them things to say because I find that they're not as advanced anyway in speaking the language. So to make them lose their minds and trying to create a new sentence with no topic, I just don't think it's worth it. So for them, I give them a sentence. The older kids, I'll just say, can you make the same? What? Are you thirsty? The same sound you create, you make one. And then they'll sit there and be like, and they'll come up with whatever. We do whatever they said they liked. And then we draw the line. we found Dino. And then we'll click, and Dino is normally somewhere sitting someplace, and we'll say, yay, and we'll circle Dino because we found him. And then we're happy, and then it's showtime. And then it's showtime. What are you gonna do? Showtime. And then they go back and can you read and all that good stuff. This one for me is really just, can you read? And then, you know, what does it say? Whatever comes out of my mouth, I don't know at that time. And because a lot of times what I find is they'll come because they're confident and they know everything. So they're like, mouse, loud. Oh, can you repeat? What does it say? And I'll underline it so they can go slow, so I can actually see if they hit the whole the whole sound the way it's supposed to hit. And then I'll do the next one. Yes. And, you know, I'll give them an extra star, even though we don't have any more stars left. Or I'll give them we'll have a piece of cake or a cookie or catboy run across the screen because, wow, you're fast. I don't know. It just depends upon the kid. But it's always, can you read? And then and then if it's too fast, go back. Can you read again? Slow. What does it say? And then I listen. And I'll say, what does it say? And I'll look. And then we move to the next one. I do the exact same way. I ask them to read. And then they'll read it. And if they read it right with the intonation, then I'll repeat it. I'll say, great job, circle it. And then they'll say it, and then they'll do, are you thirsty? And then I'll do, are you thirsty? And then they'll go, are you thirsty? And then we'll say, yes, I am thirsty. We'll answer the question. And then that's pretty much it for that slide.